Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. I'm just streaming an iPad 5 glass test. Test, test, test. Test, test, test. Customer wanted me to stream their iPad fix here. Let me actually get the screen that they need, or the glass. Not really a screen. Hold on, see if I can reach it without taking my headphones off. iPad 5. You said it was a 5. Sure it is. I'm gonna double check just to make sure. Let's see. A1822. I don't remember these model numbers. I'm gonna Google it real quick. 18. What's 22? I feel like that's an iPad 5. Yeah, iPad 5. Okay. Just checking. Okay. I know it's been a while since I did this. Okay. No views there. The customer said they want to watch it. Concurrent views. I was going to wait until the customer gave me confirmation they were on. One view. It's probably them. Let's see. Poe. Hello? Are you there? Can you hear me? Alright, well, I'm going to start. Show you how I do it. This is how I do it. Okay. I said they can see in here, so it's fine. It's fine with me. See, where's the... Okay, right there. All right. This is how I do it. First, I use tape. I tape it up. This way, the tape is very useful. It keeps the glass from flying around, flying into my face and just all over the place. It also helps lift the glass off in one piece. I pretty much always tape it. Give me that. Alright, and I even tape the parts that are not broken because they will break. Almost always. Alright, that's good enough. Now we'll get our handy dandy heat pad. Now it's just upside down, but apologize, it's upside down. And I set it to 75C. Some people do hotter. I know you can go a little higher than that, but 75C, I can barely touch it at 75C. 75C is like 140 something Fahrenheit. What it does is that loosens the adhesive. It heats up the aluminum casing and heats up the adhesive around the glass. And then I take this tool here. This is not a cutting tool. This is not for cutting the adhesive. This actually pushes the alcohol in between the glass and the adhesive, and also loosens the adhesive. So you have the heat combined with the alcohol, which loosens the adhesive. This is 100% alcohol. This is not mixed with water. This is not water. I'm not shooting water into the iPad. And so what I do, let it get to temp. It's getting pretty warm. It's gonna take a minute. Oh wait, you know what? I don't think it's off. Let's turn it off. Alright. Ooh, I can feel the heat coming off this thing. Wait a minute. It takes a minute. Get to temperature. .71C. Can't hear anymore. Let's see. Hold on. Hello? I'm showing good levels here. Yeah, I got good volume on here. Customer was saying that she couldn't hear anymore, but my streaming it's coming through still, so. Alright, I think it's warm enough. It's gonna be like pretty warm. Alright. Yeah, 75, 74C is, I can barely even touch it. Really, I can't. Well, I can, but I can't touch it for very long. There's going to be more adhesive here, and so we kind of work a good amount of adhesive. I mean, a good amount of rubbing alcohol. And I kind of put rubbing alcohol on both sides of this thing here. And I don't cut. This isn't a cutting operation. This is I push. I'm just kind of pushing it, wiggling it in here. It is a push operation. I'm not trying to cut anything. No cutting involved. Although it does cut, sort of, in a way. You just got to work the alcohol against the adhesive or into the adhesive. And it'll come right up. Alright, there we go. See, look at that. Now on the outside here, on this longer edge, it's very thin. So you don't need really you don't really need alcohol. It just kind of easily lift off, especially with the heat going on here. More alcohol. Remember, there's quite a bit of adhesive on these edges. Whew, warm. So you have to work it. You always got to be careful too. The cellular versions of these, the cellular antennas right here. So what you kind of do is you got to angle this up as much as you can up against the glass so it works in between the cellular antenna. You don't want to cut the cellular antenna. If you do, it's alright. You can easily replace it and they're pretty inexpensive. But just kind of a pain, right? If that occurs. I'm not monitoring the chat or anything. I'm going to go back. Alright. 8 views, wow. Some people are clicking on it, but they don't find it too amusing, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they not hearing any sound? I don't know. I'm pretty sure my sound's on though, because I can see the levels on in the streaming software. So this is pretty good and cracked up, so this is just going to kind of come up. I'm just going to work this alcohol into this. Remember, there's quite a bit of adhesive in this area, so you kind of have to work a little more. There we go. Kind of slid under. That's good. See if this rises up. There we go. It's rising up. All right. Let's get this area here. There we go. I think got it all the way cut. Now you don't want to slice all the way down on this because you don't want to slice the home button. And if you want to save the digitizer on glass, you don't definitely want to go down too much because the connection for that's about right here. So it's okay if we cut it here because this is going to be trashed anyway. But there we go. When you're sliding across and you get to a cracked edge, what you do is you stop and you kind of get. What I do is I usually get this back down between the two cracked edges, and then like that. Okay, I think we're good to lift this. I'm gonna turn this heat off, man. This is super hot. Oh, I have to loosen up this end too. Gotta loosen up this end a little bit. You don't want to go all the way because you got that home button FPC running across there. Can anybody verify you can hear me? Just want to make sure. There's really nothing I can do on my end to turn the volume on because it does look like it's going through the stream. There we go. Get that alcohol kind of in there a little bit. See, just kind of working the alcohol in there. Alright, this should be ready for liftoff. Here we go. Just kind of give it a good lift. Here's where the tape helps too. Tape kind of helps it all lift off together in one piece. You don't want to try and touch the LCD because you don't want to put adhesive on the LCD. You'll have to just clean it off, which is kind of a pain in the butt. That's alright. I'm used to that. This is nice and hot. See, here it comes up. It's coming up right now. I'm going to take it off this mat because this mat is just burning up. Super hot. I mean, it's not super hot, but it's a little tough to touch. There we go. See, we're lifting up pretty good. Pretty good. I'll be careful with the home button because we want to keep that intact. That home button FPC runs this way. Just want to try to make sure that comes up nice. There we go. Look at that. Very nice. Aha. Most of the glass came up. Just got a little bit right here. The residual adhesive that's on here actually helps with the new glass that's going to go on here. I'm just going to remove this old adhesive from the old glass. And we're going to remove this little bit right there. Let's get our helping hands out. I'm going to get our helping hands out for us. Our helping hands is this little gizmochi right here. Kind of just helps hold things. Let's see. We gotta remove this little corner off right there because there's a glass here. Because what it does, it's covering the LCD screw on this corner, so that has to be removed before we continue here. That's not a problem. We'll just do that with some more rubbing alcohol. Just kind of work that in right in there. Oh, it's coming up real nice. Look at that. Perfect. Okay, that came out real nice. And then this here, that should come right off. Look at that. Alright. Looks good. Clean. Now we take off the screws for the LCD. There's a little like flap right there. Just gonna peel that back. It covers the screw, the little Phillips screw. Take this out here. Set that screw aside, probably out of the view of the camera. And there's one on each corner. There's another one here. If you could see that, there's another one right there. Right there we go. And there's two in the bottom corners here. They don't have flaps. I haven't seen any flaps. Yeah. Alright. And there's a little bit of tape right here, so I'm going to take that off real quick. Just going to take this little bit of tape off right there. Okay. Now when you remove the LCD, here's the thing you got to remember. The usually I don't see it here. Maybe the iPad 5 didn't have it, but I know the iPad 6, 7, and 8 they have like black glue right inside of the corners, and so you kind of have to, you want to dig it out. You don't want to really try and pull this sucker from the middle. Number one, it kind of bends it. Number two, the board also runs this way, and you can bend the board. You can get up in there and bend that board. So what I usually do is I get my tweezers and I just kind of get right there in the corner, right there where that white tab is, and I just kind of pry it up like that. And I do the other side too. The 5, I don't think, doesn't look like they put that glue in there. I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't on this one. I don't know. So I'm just going to flip this up using my helping hands. I probably can't really see my helping hands, but I have a little setup here with helping hands. Let's see. Whoop. You can see this a little better. Okay, and then what we do is we got to disconnect the battery terminal before we take any of the FPC connectors off, or the FPC connections. There's one screw right here. A little tiny screw. And then I take a guitar pick and I kind of work that on the positive terminal side here and lift it off so it disengages from the battery, so there's no charge at all going to the board. Sometimes it's a little hard to get to. What you actually have to do is you have to loosen the board a little bit from the bottom of the frame. Let's use a little bit of rubbing alcohol right here in this area, because there's tape that actually runs in the bottom of the board. We gotta loosen it just a little bit so this thing's able to pop up a little bit. I'm just gonna pop the connector away from the battery a little bit. Let that kind of work its way in there. We're gonna work that in. It'll work. That alcohol will work in a little bit. And come on, pop for me here. It's not gonna really pop at all. It's just gonna lift off. Some of them are easier than others. It's okay. Just need a little more coaxing. That's all. A little more rubbing alcohol. Loosen that tape up right on the edge. Oh, I think I see it starting to kind of come up a little bit. That's what we need. Just come up just a tiny bit. Just enough. There we go. See, it went in there. Right in there. Perfect. That's the positive terminal right there on that side. Okay. Now we take the 3 screws that are covering the FPC connectors for the Digitizer, the Touch, and the LCD. So there's 1, there's 2. And there's 3 screws. Oh, I got 2 viewers. All right. It's big time now, folks. 2 viewers. Maybe I'll start streaming again. I've been out of it because I just been so busy and I don't know. Anyway, all right. So there we go. You probably can't. I don't know if you can see this, but the FPC connector for the LCD is actually glued to the bottom of the hold down bracket plate. So that's fine. That's fine. So this is done. Let's not touch the LCD. It wouldn't hurt it if you did touch it. It just don't want my fingerprints all over it. I have to clean it off later. We'll just set that LCD aside. And then we're going to take off the touch and digitizer for the glass. And what I usually do is I usually get my tweezers and I work it right at the very, very edge and pop it up. Pop. I don't use my fingers because you use your fingers, it's just too big and you can actually end up bumping small components off the board. So I just kind of do that number, and then we have to remove the home button connector, which is located right here. We're going to remove the little cover, flip the latch, pull it out, kind of undo it from the glue, adhesive, tape, whatever this is holding it down with. Now we can remove the glass, can remove off. We're going to have to remove the home button off of the old glass right here. Now what I usually do at this point is I check the frame for small pieces of glass. Like, go. I am going to have to use my microscope real quick. I'm sorry. It just helps me get a better look at the frame. Make sure there's no tiny little pieces of glass because you don't want to lay the new glass on top of any little pieces of glass that might be kind of floating around on the edge right here. I doubt there's any pieces of glass, but we'll just see real quick. Give it a quick once over. And we should be good to go. Yeah, this is pretty clean. No glass, no glass, no glass. There's a little tiny little baby piece of glass. Probably small and insignificant, but I'll take it off anyway since I'm right here. Yeah, it's so small, I really can't even grab it with my tweezers. It's gonna... Also like looking at it in the microscope just to kind of double check, make sure there's no like damage, I guess, or just make sure everything's good. I look at the FPC connectors on the inside to make sure there's no glass sitting inside of the connectors. I've seen that before. Sometimes glass, if it's really messy, sometimes glass will actually fall into the FPC connector itself. And when you go to put on the connector, it actually damages the connector. And then you're like, what the heck happened? And you eventually find that it is a little piece of glass that fell in. Okay, it's actually looking really good. What you see kind of maybe around this area is this was some residual adhesive, and that actually will help us. That will be beneficial when we go to put on the new glass. It'll actually help hold it on. We're going to set this aside. We got to put on the new home button. No, it's not a new home button, excuse me. We got to transfer the home button from the old glass to the new glass. So let's take this off first. I think my camera kind of moved around a little bit. Hold on. Let me adjust the camera just a little. Okay. What I normally do is I take this and hold this right here, and I start to peel it back very slowly, but I also use a little rubbing alcohol to help it along the way. That way we don't rip the connector. So I just kind of work some rubbing alcohol right underneath where the FPC goes. I just keep doing that. Actually, and then I actually just soak this area with rubbing alcohol. It's not going to hurt anything. It's not going to hurt the home button. It's not going to hurt the ribbon or nothing. Actually helps. Just kind of get everything loose. It was a little bit of a trouble. I go to this, and I'm not cutting, I'm pushing. I'm kind of getting underneath and just kind of pushing that alcohol underneath, just helping it get released. There we go. You just gotta be careful with this because you can't cut it. You don't want to cut it. If you cut it, you'll lose. If you cut it, you're gonna lose Touch ID if you have to put on a new home button. I just keep working this in. I work the alcohol in. Again, I'm not cutting. I'm just like pushing. It's more of a push. I'm more of a working the alcohol into underneath. There we go. And then what I do is there's a tiny bit of glue actually around this. There's an actual bracket. I know this looks black on black, and you probably can't see this too well. Let me see if I can show you in here. There's a bracket, and there's the bracket that goes over the back of the home button. It has there's the two edges right there of the bracket, and there's actually glue around the edges of that bracket. That's those square ends on the ends. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of remove that glue by doing this, just pushing that glue off. There it is. There's that glue right there. I don't know if you can see that. It looks like a booger maybe, but it is not. It is a little bit of glue, and that's going to help remove the bracket. I don't like to use this bracket. I don't like to reuse it. It's hard to position onto the new one, so I like to just take the new one that comes with the new glass and just use that. I will show you why it is just slightly beneficial. Again, I'm going to use my tool here and kind of work underneath that bracket. You can probably see that a little bit. That's going to help release that bracket. Again, being careful not to cut the home button. I'm just going to kind of pull this apart here. See if this, let's use a little more rubbing alcohol. This home button should release from the glass. Let's see. Home button should release from there. We go, and it released from the glass. There we go. Now the glass is done. Now we're done with this glass. This can go in the trash, including the bracket. I'm not going to use that bracket. We're going to use another bracket. We'll use a new one. You don't have to use a new one. The old one is fine, but I believe the design of the new one is just a little better when it comes to positioning it back. I will show you why. I hope this is interesting to everyone. This is how I do it. I know there's other ways to do it. The other thing. So the other thing that I do is reuse the adhesive and reuse the spacer that is on here. You probably can't really see it in this camera, And you really can't see it at all. I mean, but you still take my word for it. There's actually a black spacer that's already sitting on here. And there's already a piece of adhesive strip. I like to reuse the adhesive if possible, and I'll show you how you can reuse this. You're probably thinking, oh man, if you reuse that, it's just going to come off. No, it won't. If you put glue on it, not glue on it, but if you use glue, it'll stay on for good, no problems. I'll show you. Let's look at the new glass. You can see that bracket that I'm talking, not bracket, well, yeah, the bracket, and you can also see the spacer that I'm talking about. Since there's already a spacer on the old one, it's still on there. I'm going to take it off the new one. It's usually, the spacer is usually pre-applied. If you can see this in the camera, see if I angle it just right, you can kind of see that spacer. Ooh, there it is, there it is, there it is. You can kind of see it around here. There it is. You can kind of see like a black ring sitting. You can kind of almost see it, that black ring. That's the spacer. The spacer's already on the old one, so I'm going to take it off this new one. Don't need it. I'm just going to take it off because I don't need it. I'm not going to use that to push. I'm going to use something plastic so I don't scrape the black paint, because there's kind of a paint on here. See, now I just took it off. You see that? I'll take that off. Don't need that. It's okay. I usually go ahead and take the tape off at this point right now, at least the bottom. Let's take the test tape off here, and then what I do is I peel. There's a back laminate right here. There's a laminate that covers the hole. So what I do is I get it off and put my finger up into there, so I can just kind of feel the position of where the home button's going to go. And then so I just take this home button right here and I position it just with my eye and feeling it with my finger right here, and I kind of push and I pull away with my other finger. And I can kind of feel the button getting set nice inside there where it's supposed to go. No, it's not sitting very nice because the old adhesive, there's might be some still, hold on. It's not sticking. I might have to, you know what, it's okay. It's okay. So here we go. We're going to do it now. There we go. Okay, that's fine if it doesn't stay very well, because I'm going to put some glue on here. I'm going to glue it down, so that's going to stay. Now the glue, I do like to use my microscope so I can get the glue right on there, because you don't want to put a bunch of glue all over it. If you put glue on the wrong part of it, it will not you cannot depress it. You'll not be able to press it very well if you put the glue on there wrong. So I'm going to just do a little bit of this in the microscope. Hopefully you can still see it. I think you can. This is T7000 glue. This is some of the same glue that's used in your electronic devices. So I'm going to put the glue around the button right here, around the very edge, and just kind of work that glue around, and that glue is going to help keep that button and the spacer in place for the indefinitely. Hopefully, this glue takes about 30 minutes to kind of start to doesn't really harden, to dry, and I'd say after about maybe after about an hour or so, it's pretty much fully dry. Maybe 2 hours fully dry, but 30 minutes, it's basically dry enough after about 30 minutes. It does smell a little bit, but you know, that's okay. I don't really mind the smell too much, but I'm sure if you use a lot of it, it'd probably be a little bit overwhelming. I'm gonna leave that out because I'm gonna use it again. Now that it's drying, I'm gonna show you the new bracket we're gonna use. With the glasses that I buy, they provide you with a new bracket. They also provide you with the rubber seal, which I did not use. I used the rubber seal from the old one, which is fine. The rubber seal was fine with the old one. I'm not going to use this. I am going to use this new bracket. The thing I like about this new bracket, it has a little nipple, and that's what I see as I'm going down and pushing this on. And I can align the nipple with the actual button. that little brass, bright little yellow spot there, that's the actual button. That is what makes the electrical contact. So that's this little button gets pressed up against this nipple. And it just is easier to position in the microscope. Just going to take they pre-apply some adhesive on the back of the bracket. Well, I guess it's on the front of the bracket. I don't know if it's the front of the back. I'd say this is actually probably the front of the bracket. There we go. So we're just going to position that downwards here. We don't need this little guy. This is the conductive, some kind of conductive, it's not really tape. I don't know what's going on in YouTube chat. I'm not looking at it. Okay, nothing. Okay, that's probably a good thing. Alright. So I'm going to position this nipple right above the actual button here. I'm going to use my tweezers to kind of help me out. I know most people probably don't do any of this work under a microscope, which is fine. That is in no way a testament one way or the other. It's just how I like to do things. Like, I'm able to see things a lot more closer and better and clear. And good, I can feel it. It's pressing very nicely. Now I'm going to add a little bit more glue around the edges of that bracket I just put on, around these square areas.
Kathy, I'm fighting a forfeit and I think
Okay, we're actually almost done. This is pretty much going to be done, and we can put this glass back on. Alright, there we go. So we got the glue on here, and that's how they do it in the factory. Although it's probably more prettier from the factory. But okay. I'll let it dry a little bit, but that by the time I get the rest of this going, this will be dry enough. So we just line this. This goes this way. This FPC goes along. I usually go along right in the edge of that copper, kind of that copper trace right there. And I'm just going to bend that back just a little tiny bit. It's not really sticking like it used to as well. That's okay, but I don't like that. So I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of tape. A little bit of Scotch tape will do just fine. Just a tiny bit. Scotch tape. Good old Scotch tape. Going to cut this Scotch tape a little bit thinner. There we go. Just a little tiny thin piece of Scotch tape. We'll do just fine, and we're going to put that kind of right here, just kind of help it hold it down. Oh, look at that, perfect. Okay, that's fine. That's going to work just fine. This is my first time doing all this. I'm just kidding. This is my second time. And we're going to put the little, I don't know what this is. This is a, it's always some kind of conductive, I don't know what's, something conductive, but I think it kind of grounds it. I guess it keeps it grounded or something maybe. I don't really know, but that's, hey, you know what? It's there. I put it back. Alright, so we don't need the microscope anymore. Put that aside. And we're going to take this other packaging. Chameleon. Just going to take this tape stuff off. And take the rest of the tape off here. Rest of the test tape off. All right. Now there's also a piece of laminate that's still on this side right here. That's red tab is for, to pull off the laminate. We're going to do it at the very end. That's going to be the very last step. You don't want to do it now because you don't want to accidentally touch this side. Get your fingerprints on there, and that would be terrible, and it would be hard to clean, and it would just be bad news all around. Not the worst thing in the world, but it's just a real pain to try and clean that after the fact. So we're ready to set this back up and prop this back up. I'm going to put the LCD in first, and we're going to put the glass in, so it's going to put the LCD in. Oh no, wait, LCD doesn't go in first. Glass goes in first. I knew that. I knew that. So I'm going to pop the FBC connectors back on. Kind of line those up, get a feel for it. There we go, boom. That's on there, they're good. And this other one. And when you do this, you gotta make the face too, like this, like that. Like, you know, like you're really struggling here. Okay. Alright, so now we'll flip the latch. What I usually do is I kind of grab the ends of it like this. And I push and I kind of wiggle. Wiggle and push, wiggle, push, wiggle, push. Alright, it goes right in. Close the latch, put this on. I'm going to put the little tape back on here. Alright. And we'll put our LCD back on here. That should go right back on. There we go. That is in place. Everything, all the FBC connectors are back in place. Now we screw that plate back on. Oop. Now that we have everything already plugged up, pretty much ready to go for the most part, now we can remove the pick. So put the battery back on, put the battery back in, and put that battery screw, terminal screw back on here. There we go. Just give it kind of a once over. Looks good. No big chunks of glass hanging around. Okay, this looks pretty good. Oh, there's like a little foamy thing. Hold on. Let me grab our old... I'm not exactly sure what this is. Just some kind of little piece of foam that sits there. We'll just kind of put that back. That just goes right there. Just like that. And we'll should close in on it. Okay. Now we can lay the LCD back down here and screw it down. One on each corner. Don't forget to lift off the little there's a little cover here. We're almost done. We can test it at this point, I guess. We can go ahead and plug it in and make sure it turns on. I'm sure probably be fine. let's go and plug it up, make sure that it charges, make sure that it starts to boot. I'm plugging it up here, trying to anyway. Do we get the Apple logo? Yes, we do. Very good. We get an Apple logo. Do we get a home page screen? Still probably loading. Or booting, whatever. Oh, very good. That was it. Alright, let's press the power button, turns it off, or the wake button turns it on, and let's press I'm going to press the home button here. You probably can't see it too well, but I'm pressing the home button here. There we go. And there's the lock screen. Let's make sure the touch works on the lock screen. Alright, it's looking pretty good. This is just random. This is a random numbers. This is not the password. I don't think so. Anyway, alright, cool. Cool. Alright, now we're going to just clean this off real quick. This is a little tiny, probably can't see in the camera, but there's a little bit of adhesive that got on here. But other than that, the LCD looks really good. So what I do to clean off any residue, just use a good old isopropyl on here. I use a microfiber. I kind of get my finger like that, and I just work it in circles. I'm just going to do the whole thing real quick. I'm just going to go like this, just kind of work circles. And I look at it at an angle. I look at it at an angle. At an angle, you can see the streaks, and you can see fingerprints and anything else. Okay, yeah, I'm just working it out. Any fingerprints. The dust is going to fall and constantly fall as you do this. Don't worry, just let the dust settle on here, and that's fine because we're going to blow it off with air. The dust will blow right off with air. I'm just getting the fingerprints and anything. Well, not fingerprints. I'm talking like there's a bunch of fingerprints on here. There's not. There's no fingerprints on here. There's a little bit of adhesive and this tricking from the alcohol, but the alcohol eventually goes away. Now there's just a tiny bit of dust on there. That's fine. We're just going to blow that away. Double check, make sure we didn't forget anything. I don't see anything. I don't see any extra screws, missing screws. Good, 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 good. Oh, and we need to remove the. There is laminate right here. Remember, I told you about the red tab. I'm going to remove that laminate. That's the very last step. That's the very last step. Try not to touch the glass underneath. The laminate is stuck on there pretty good. Pretty good, and that does happen. That's okay if it does. However, it is a little hard to get off. I end up having to sometimes look at it in the microscope to see exactly where the laminate starts. Be careful trying to remove this laminate without a microscope, because what you can end up doing is there is also another layer of plastic laminate. It's part of the screen or part of the glass digitizer. Come on, this laminate does not want to come off. I'm gonna have to get my microscope and look and see where that laminate starts. Hold on, folks. Alright, I'm back. I had to take a phone call. Sorry, everything's all blurry, and I usually dial in the camera, and I can't right now. Alright, where is the laminate? I have to pull the laminate off the corner here. This is what I usually do. I have to find it. And there it is. Okay, I can see it in the microscope. I have to very carefully pull it off with the tweezers without busting it, without scratching anything. I hate this part. Okay. I hate when this happens. Let's see if I can just get, there we go. I might not talk too much through this. This is very, because I'm picking it off and it's right on top of the copper traces of the digitizer, so I don't want to scratch the copper digitizer line. Of course, they make this. Okay. I'm gonna try and tack this from another angle here. I'm sorry, this is totally covered up. Let's see. This is not easy to do. There we go. See, this is that laminate I was telling you about. There is a little bit of, let's see, make sure, I think everything's fine. Yeah. I think we're good. Okay, great. Now that I got the laminate off, I love when that laminate doesn't come off. Every once in a while, that tab doesn't pull the laminate off. All right. Now, as we lay this down, I'm going to spray the canned air on it. Oops, there we go. All right. I just what I do is I kind of jimmy this in here and line this up to get ready to close. As I close it, I just spray the dust that has collected on the LCD off. Go. Go. Okay. And there we go. Now we got a good close right there. Now what I do, the last step I do, I put my hand on here, my hand's on here, and I kind of push down a little, just a little bit. Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get that adhesive to all come together. That the old adhesive that was on here and the new adhesive. I just kind of go do this number where I'm kind of just slightly moving that glass around on the top so it's working the adhesive in. But I think this is good. This looks good. Yeah, this looks really good. Alright, well that works. Okay. Alright, I think we're done.